On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a little bit of a different approach to this. We're going to look back, all the way back to when President Trump was simply Donald Trump, giving us speeches about what was to come, and his predictive powers are quite impressive, as well as the MSM's ability to predict their own malfeasance. Enjoy.
Let's just cut to the chase. Assuming, and that's what we're talking about, that he does win, people I'm speaking to think it's absolutely catastrophic. That it's catastrophic for the United States, that it's catastrophic for our position in the world. It emboldens our enemies and adversaries. It makes our allies terrified that we're not going to be their allies anymore. Most people think that this type of scenario happens. That if you imagine the United States as a nuclear warship, we stop. We become totally focused on our own domestic politics, that he's going to provoke a constitutional crisis, he's going to get into a fight with the Supreme Court, there'll be attempts to impeach him, and that for 6 months to a year or longer, we will be navel-gazing, we will not be leading the world, and other powers, Russia, China, adjust around us.
He has called our generals stupid. He has advocated.
Let me tell you, tonight the general is reading the Constitution.
I'm sorry, say it again?
General, I've been talking to generals for a long time. They've been reading the Constitution to see what they are obligated to do. If they are really ordered to round up and deport millions of Americans and put them on buses or trains, do they have to do that? The president is the commander-in-chief. That's the stage what we're talking about. It's, do they have to follow what they would believe would be an immoral and illegal order? So you have to look at this as a transformative event, with America's role, not just domestically, but internationally.
The front page of the New York Times had a meter on it that showed Hillary Clinton had a 90% chance of winning the presidency. That was just in the air in Washington and I think around the world.
And for senior FBI officials and CIA officials, our counterintelligence antenna, especially when it comes to Russian espionage, is very, very sensitive and strong.
I believe in doing your homework, and over the course of the last year, we have seen, I think, a mountain of evidence of collusion between the campaign and the Russians to basically affect our democracy. And so we did our homework and we brought our civil case. And then finally, I'm worried about these midterm elections because they did this with impunity. General McMaster said that we failed to impose sufficient costs on Russia. Well, we know why I think they failed to impose sufficient costs on Russia for this dramatic and reckless and unprecedented hack, because this administration is compromised. I want to make sure we send a very clear signal. I want to
reviewing the evidence that I have, I don't think you can conclude that at all. Far from it.
But you admit it's all you have right now is a circumstantial case.
Actually, no, Chuck. I can tell you that the case is more than that, and I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now. So, again, I think...
So you have seen direct evidence of collusion?
I don't want to go into specifics, but I will say that there is evidence that is not circumstantial.
A foreign power is working so hard to influence the outcome of the election. And believe me, they're not doing it to get me elected. They're doing it to try to influence the election for Donald Trump. Now, maybe because he has praised Putin, maybe because he says he agrees with a lot of what Putin wants to do, maybe because he wants to do business in Moscow. I don't know the reasons.
Heard, the Mueller report has arrived with no further indictments, according to a senior DOJ official. That is it. No one else will be indicted in this investigation for collusion or anything else. So to repeat, after all of this, years of it, not a single American citizen has been charged with anything related to Russian collusion. Not one person. Not Michael Flynn, not Roger Stone, not George Papadopoulos, not Paul Manafort, not Carter Page, not Donald Trump. Many of these people have had their lives ruined by the Mueller investigation. Some could die in prison. Not one of them colluded with Russia. The people on TV have been lying to you. They'll deny it now. They'll tell you this was always about Trump's taxes or some foreign real estate deal or hush money he paid to a girlfriend. That's a crock. This investigation was always, from day one, about collusion with Russia, about betraying this country. They told us that for years. So that was the former CIA director, one of countless retired intel officials you see parading across your screen every night, all of them paid by MSNBC or CNN to toe the party line. All of them know better. They're lying. It's a habit many of them picked up years ago. Members of Congress did the same. To pick one among 1,000 examples, here's Tennessee's Steve Cohen telling us that most of the Trump family is bound for prison.
Well, I think they're getting closer to knowing that the truth's going to come out, that there was activities with the Trump campaign in Russia and releasing those hacks and guiding them to the states and the localities where they came from. Some of that was Jared Kushner's responsibilities. Some of it was Donald Jr. I think you're going to probably see indictments of both of those people.
That man is a sitting member of Congress. He's wearing a necktie. He's on television. People believed him, and why wouldn't they? He's an authority figure in this country, and he was lying. So was Senator Richard Blumenthal, who has spent years bringing shame to the state of Connecticut. He embarrassed himself even further with his mock certainty on this and many, many other occasions.
There are indictments in this president's future. They're coming. Whether they're after his presidency or during it, obviously the Department of Justice said cannot indict a sitting president.
And of course there was Howard Dean. He's the former governor of Vermont. Dean was also, if you can remember that far back to 2004, a presidential candidate. At one point, it looked like he was going to be the nominee of the Democratic Party. He went on to run the DNC. He's on television constantly. People have long whispered that Howard Dean is not all there. They say he yells so much because he can't think very well. They claim he's so slow it takes him an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes. You don't want to believe any of that's true. It sounds cruel. On the other hand, they might be right.
We believe we may well have a criminal in the White House, and the next step is going to be the Trump family itself. I expect that there's a good likelihood Jared Kushner will be indicted for money laundering, and then we're going to have to see how far the Russian involvement goes. This is serious business. These people are undermining our democracy.
It was never serious business. Another lie. It was ludicrous. It was always ludicrous. But no matter how much evidence you muster, you will never convince Congressman Eric Swalwell of that. Swalwell is the original collusion truther. There's no element of the Russia conspiracy that Swalwell, who's been on the show many times, isn't eager to believe and magnify. He really ought to have an overnight show on AM radio. He'd be able to tell us how Putin secretly runs Bilderberg. CNN, of course, loves Eric Swalwell. For years, that channel has broadcast uncritically virtually every lunatic claim Swalwell has ever made. Here's one example.
It's looking more and more, Wolf, that Donald Trump was a part of a criminal campaign, a criminal transition, and now presides over a criminal presidency.
A criminal presidency. What's criminal is what just happened. We have lived through 3 separate investigations into Russia collusion. Not just Mueller, but a committee in the House and a committee in the Senate. And they spent years looking in this. And in the end, they found nothing. But during that time, this country, the country they're supposed to be running, has become obviously and measurably worse. Suicide, drug ODs are up. Life expectancy is falling. The borders are a mess. We have no clue who lives in this country, to the tune of millions of people, maybe tens of millions. We have no idea. The schools are a joke. You wouldn't send your kids to them if you had a choice. Infrastructure is crumbling. Hundreds of thousands of Americans sleep outside every night. So what are our leaders talking about? What do they spend their time obsessing over? What do they get TV bookings to rant about? Some irrelevant meeting with a minor Russian lawyer in Trump Tower 3 years ago. The New York City subway barely works. The largest city in the United States smells like garbage. People are fleeing it. What is Bill de Blasio, the mayor, talking about? He's ranting about Putin. This has been a disaster. How can we let the people who are responsible for it continue as if it never happened? How can Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff keep their seats in the House of Representatives? They should resign.
How can Jeff Zucker remain at CNN after we now know that much of what his network told us for 2 years is a total lie? And it is a total lie. And what about the victims of this monstrosity? There are many. Roger Stone is facing life in prison. He was indicted by an investigation designed to find collusion, indicted on minor charges. He was dragged from his own home in a morning FBI raid. They put an amphibious vehicle outside his house and pointed an automatic weapon in his face, all to find collusion. But there was no collusion. Stone is still looking at life in prison. Where is Roger Stone's pardon? His pardon from the president. Let's hope it comes very soon. The Mueller investigation is over as of tonight, but the wreckage remains. For the sake of this country, let's clean it up quickly and move on.
Our country is in very, very serious trouble. We owe $17 trillion, and we have more than a $1 trillion yearly deficit. That means we're losing numbers that nobody's ever heard of before. Anywhere, any country, nobody's ever heard of numbers like this. Likewise, the Republican Party is in serious trouble. The good news is that the country has tremendous untapped potential, absolutely tremendous. The Republican Party, I could almost say it's going to be a little bit tougher, and especially as you get more and more conservative. They get nasty. They don't like to hear what we have to say, and it's not easy. We have to get the momentum back, and we have to get it back quickly, before it's too late, before we waste that incredible potential that we still have. We have to get it back. Now, the president is given, sadly, unprecedented media protection. It's incredible. When you see what's going on, it's absolutely incredible. With the Republicans, especially as you get more and more conservative in your thinking and your thought, it's really just the opposite. As Republicans, if you think you're going to change very substantially for the worse Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security in any substantial way, and at the same time you think you're going to win elections, it just really is not going to happen. The way we solve our problem, because polls have come out, even the Tea Party, which I love so dearly, 78% of the people said, leave my Medicare, my Medicaid, my Social Security alone. That's the Tea Party. So what we have to do, and the way we solve our problems, is to build a great economy. We don't have a great economy right now. China has, other people have, other countries have. We don't have we don't make things anymore. We were great manufacturers. We don't make anything anymore. We buy from other countries, not only China, all over the world. We buy. We have to rebuild our economy, and we have to do it again. We have to make America strong again and make America great again. Thank you. Now, this is a hard one, because when it comes to immigration, you know that the 11 million illegals, even if given the right to vote, you're going to have to do what's right. But the fact is, 11 million people will be voting Democratic. You can be out front, you can be the spearhead, you can do whatever you want to do, but every one of those 11 million people will be voting Democratic. It's just the way it works. And you have to be very, very careful, because you could say that to a certain extent, The odds aren't looking so great right now for Republicans that you're on a suicide mission. You're just not going to get those votes. Now, I say to myself, why aren't we letting people in from Europe? I have many friends, many friends, and nobody wants to talk this, nobody wants to say it, but I have many friends from Europe. They want to come in. People I know, tremendous people, hard-working people. They can't come in. I know people whose sons went to Harvard, top in their class, went to the Wharton School of Finance, great students. They happen to be a citizen of a foreign country. They learn, they take all of our knowledge, and they can't work in this country. We throw them out. We educate them. We make them really good. They go home. They can't stay here, so they work from their country, and they work very effectively against us. Now, how stupid is that? Top in your class at Harvard, and you get thrown out of the country. So something has to happen. That's a sad thing. Now, I understand it's going to be reinstituted, but I would certainly be willing to do it. I'll give you something that's small, but it's emblematic. A couple of years ago, I saw a major state dinner, and it was in a tent on the White House lawn. A bad tent. Probably a tent that the guy who owns the tent made a fortune. Probably rented it for one night for more than it cost him. And I said to myself, here's China in a tent. And I called up the White House, somebody I know very well, very high position. And I said, look, I will offer, free of charge, to build the most beautiful ballroom there is in the country, anywhere. I will do it. It'll cost anywhere from $50 to $100 million. I will do it. You can get the greatest architects. You'll make it perfectly sympathetic with the White House and the architecture. It'll be fabulous. They said, thank you very much. Wow, what an offer. We never heard from them. That's the problem with the country. That's a small thing, but that's the problem with the country. And that's what happens. You don't hear from people. Now, when you get right down to it, from the standpoint of conservatives and Republicans, you've got to win elections. When you have people that are well-meaning, but governors saying it's the stupid party, and I heard that statement, I said, what a horrible statement to make. What a horrible statement. Because that's a statement that's going to come back and haunt you when the Democrats start using it. And you have to change that. And you have to change that thinking. Or when I have somebody and I watch somebody who spends $400 million on campaigns with perhaps the worst ads I've ever seen. I mean, they did ads on Obama that I thought it was being paid for by the Obama campaign. They were so incredible. You remember the famous superhero ad? Well, people want a superhero. They made Obama, and it was great. I said, what a great ad Obama did. And then I said, oh, wow, that was done by the Republicans. So when you spend $400 million and it's a failure and you don't have one victory, you know there's something seriously wrong. Now, I've made over $8 billion. In fact, when I was thinking of running, I actually filed my financial statement. A lot of people were actually surprised. But more than that, I've employed tens of thousands of people. And yet I'm continually criticized by total lightweights all over the place. It's unbelievable. No, it really is unbelievable. I mean, you see these guys on television, they can't buy a clean shirt, and they're saying, Donald Trump, he's nothing. I'm saying, thousands and thousands of people. So I'm very proud of what I've done. And I think if Mitt made one mistake, and I like Mitt Romney a lot, but if he made one mistake, it's that he didn't talk enough about his success. Because honestly, people really want success. They want a leader who's successful. And Mitt has done a great job. And I just feel that the Republicans and Mitt, and I told him this, didn't speak enough about the things he did, the great things. They were on the defensive instead of taking that offensive. Just recently, I bought Doral Country Club, 800 acres in the middle of Miami. an amazing place, but it was improperly run for years and years. Tiger Woods just won the tournament this weekend, got record television ratings. It did fantastically. It's an amazing place. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to make it incredible. I'm going to make that place incredible. That's what we have to do with this country. We've got to fix it. We've got to make it incredible. Right now, we're a laughingstock. You see what's going on in Afghanistan with Karzai. I mean, he has no respect for us. Now, in all fairness, we're leaving. So he probably said, wow, I'm going to be stuck here alone. But still, this guy, when I watch his moves, I just say, how can leadership allow that to happen? With Iraq, we spend $1.5 trillion. $1.5 trillion. We lose lives, great, young, wonderful people. We lose so much. What do we have? Nothing. We have nothing. When I heard that we were first going into Iraq, some very smart people told me, well, we're actually going for the oil. And I said, all right, I get that. There's nothing else. I get it. We didn't take the oil. And then when I said, well, we spent $1.5 trillion, we should take I don't know if you know, they have the second largest oil reserves in the world after Saudi Arabia. So 1.5 trillion is nothing. 1.5 trillion, we should take it and pay ourselves back. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we thinking? And this is whether it's Obama or Bush or whoever. What the hell are we thinking? And for those soldiers and the families, for those soldiers that were killed, I said we should pay those families money. We should give them money. They lost their sons and their daughters, and $1 million to a family is nothing compared to the kind of wealth that you're talking about over there. So right now you have somebody running Iraq that we don't even know who the hell it is, and I guarantee he's building his palaces and everything else, and we have nothing out of it. So it's just a very sad thing. You look at what happens with Syria. You look at what's currently happening with South Korea. Now, I buy all my televisions from South Korea. I'm sorry to say. I just ordered 3,000 units, 3,000 televisions, South Korea, LGs, etc. We don't make them in our country anymore. I get criticized. Oh, why didn't you buy them here? You can't buy them here. We don't make televisions in this country. All right. So North Korea, as it always does, gets frisky. And then we pay them off and they get less frisky, right? North Korea gets frisky. What do we get out of it? We send our beautiful aircraft carriers. We send our destroyers. You know, every time you turn on the engine, it's $5 billion, right? And we send them down, and we stop whatever's going to happen to South Korea. What do we get out of it? We get nothing. The fact is, we're run by either very foolish or very stupid people. What's going on in this country is unbelievable. Our country is a total mess, a total and complete mess. And what we need is leadership. Now, by fixing the economy, we're able to solve the problems that we really do need to solve, and immediately as a nation. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, they all become affordable when we become a wealthy country again. You know, part of the reason that the Republicans and even the Democrats, they're all talking, we got to cut, because our country isn't doing it. We're not cutting the mustard. We're not doing it. New technology has shown that we have tremendous wealth right under our feet in the form of energy. Right under our feet. North Dakota is a great example. We're not allowed to go and get it. So we go to the OPEC nations that think we happen to be, because I hate to tell you, they're all friends of mine. I know them all. They think we are the stupidest people on earth. They can't believe what they're getting away with. And we could become so easily the energy capital of the world. So what I say is this. We have to start building things. We have to start manufacturing, not just taking care of people, not just taking care in terms of health care. That's not manufacturing. That's money going out. We have to bring money in. This country has to start building things again. We have to take back our jobs from China. We have to take back our jobs from other places. When Apple talks about Apple building all of this stuff, and we are all so proud of Apple, they build virtually 100% of their product in China. So China should be more proud of Apple than we are, to be totally honest with you. We have to start manufacturing and building again, and we have to make America great again. Our problems will be solved. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you. Thank you.